Let's talk about one of the toughest topics for parents of autistic or ADHD kids, masturbation. I know, makes most of us tense up. And you might be thinking, do I really have to talk about that? But look, every child deserves to understand their body safely, calmly, and without shame. I'm an autistic mum and a sex educator, and I've supported many families through these exact situations. I know how difficult and awkward it can be. But autistic teenagers and tweens and kids, they develop sexually just as other neurodivergent and neurotypical kids do. So, autistic young people, they might need support to understand their sexual feelings, sexual cues, and sexual relationships. A clear understanding of consent, safe and unsafe touch, and masturbation helps to keep autistic teenagers safe. And sadly, many autistic and ADHD people don't get the education they need to be able to navigate those sexual feelings safely and appropriately. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. Why understanding masturbation matters and how to teach it in a way that actually protects and empowers your child. For some autistic people, the most important sexual relationship they'll ever have is with themselves. And that's not sad or strange, it's healthy. Masturbation, it can relieve frustration, it can help with sleep, it can reduce anxiety and teach body awareness. It can also prevent risky behavior by helping someone understand their body in private, safe ways. Quick story. A mum once emailed me in a panic. She'd found her autistic son in their lounge room masturbating and thought she'd failed as a parent. But she'd never found him masturbating when he was younger. So they'd never actually had conversations about masturbation being a private activity. So after we chatted, she realized that her child wasn't doing anything bad. He just didn't know the privacy rules, didn't know it was a private thing to do. And once they talked about where it's okay and what's not okay, the problem disappeared. But here's where it gets tricky. Sometimes what looks like masturbation isn't actually sexual at all. Autistic kids often have strong sensory preferences or sensitivities. Masturbating might help them to regulate, calm down, or simply to feel grounded. It might also mean something's uncomfortable. So before assuming it's sexual, check for things like irritation, infection, tight clothing, or is there a sensory discomfort? You'll find a resource below this video. It'll take you to a blog post that gives you more information about the things to look out for. You can't always assume that touching is always sexual. Sometimes their body's saying, I'm itchy, not I'm turned on. So here's a quick example. I once worked with a family whose son was constantly touching himself at school. Everyone thought it was a sexual issue. Turns out his undies were too tight and he also had eczema. So once that was fixed, the touching actually stopped. So it's really important to observe first and then label later. And once you've ruled out those physical causes, what will you actually teach them, especially to a literal thinker? You can tell your autistic child that masturbation is natural and it's a healthy part of growing up, something that many people do because it feels nice and helps them learn about their body. But it's also a private activity, which means it should only happen in a private place when they're alone. A simple way to explain this is to compare it to other private things they already do, like having a shower or going to the toilet. These are body activities that we do in private, not in front of others. Some autistic kids will need clear, concrete examples of what counts as private. You can make a short list and you can use pictures or photos if you need to of acceptable private places, such as their bedroom with the door closed and curtains closed, and they have to be alone. The toilet in your own home if the door's closed. The shower or bathroom in your own home with the door closed. You can also put a small private sign on the bedroom door to remind them that it's their personal space. But explain that not all rooms labelled private are suitable. So, for example, a private office or a staff room at school is not the right place. Hygiene is also an important part of learning about masturbation, and autistic kids often need these steps made explicit. You can say something simple and clear like, Masturbation, it's private and it's also important to be clean. Always wash your hands before and after touching your genitals. And explain why this matters. I know myself as an autistic person that if someone just tells me to do something, I may not go do it, but if they explain to me why I need to do something, then I can go like, oh, there's a reason, and then I'll do it. Explain why this matters. It helps to prevent germs, keeps their body healthy, and it shows respect for their own space and things that they touch. So chances are they've already probably got some stuff that is just theirs that they don't like other people playing with. You can also remind them that bedding, and if they're using like washable cloths, that they need to get washed as well and where to put them and all that sort of stuff. And then you can also keep on encouraging that it has to happen in a private place, the bathroom or the bedroom where they're alone, people can't see them. And also another one to throw in is where they are unlikely to be interrupted. Some families will actually have a sign that kids can put on the door when they want to be in their room without being interrupted. So that's a good handy tip to remember. You might want to look at getting, some rewashable cloths, or some parents will leave a box of tissues or wipes in their private space so that they can manage that hygiene for themselves. It's also a good reminder. And if they've got sensory sensitivities, it might be about offering different textures for the wipes or something that feels more comfortable as well. Depending on the age of the child, if they're going through puberty and getting older, which is when masturbation tends to be more for a sexual reason and more about orgasm, you may even need to look at a lubricant. And that's about finding also a lubricant that's right for their sensory needs. Tip there, ring or go into your local adult sex toy shop. Say, I've got a kid who doesn't like this sort of texture. What can you suggest for a lubricant? And they will give you a suggestion for something. The people who work at the adult sex toy shops are a wealth of knowledge. It helps to have a household rule that everyone knocks before entering bedrooms. What this does is it protects your child's privacy and teaches everyone to respect each other's personal space. Make sure visitors and siblings know the rule too, so your child can relax and trust that their privacy will actually be respected. But what if it's happening too often or in public? Let's talk about when to worry and when to stay calm. Sometimes kids need extra support, especially if they're touching themselves in public, even after reminders, or they're using household objects or causing injury to themselves, or doing it a lot and seem distressed about it. If that's happening, don't panic. It's just a sign that they need your help, not punishment. Most of the time it happens because they don't have enough privacy, or they're trying to calm themselves down, or simply haven't learnt those social rules yet. The key is to stay calm and keep teaching. Shame does more harm than masturbation ever will. And when we panic, kids learn that their body's bad. But when we stay curious and kind, they learn it's something to understand and manage. So focus on teaching boundaries, making sure private spaces are available for them, and offering other ways to meet their needs. Like sometimes they're doing it because it's a sensory thing and you can replace it with another sensory activity, or it could be a calming routine for them. And look, if you're still worried or if it feels overwhelming, you can always get individual support through my Sex Ed membership. That's where I help parents to navigate these types of challenges step by step. Now, some families worry that these conversations might clash with their values, so let's look at how to handle that. You can absolutely teach this topic and stay aligned with your values. Religious or values-based families can teach this too without conflict. So some families believe that masturbation's sinful because of their faith, and that can make these conversations a little bit tricky. If that's you, focus on sharing your beliefs without shame. And the most important bit is explain why your family holds these values so that your child understands the meaning behind them instead of just hearing don't. You can teach that genitals aren't dirty or bad, they're private and special. It's about respect and self-control, not guilt. And if you approach it calmly and gently, your child can grow up knowing that their body and feelings aren't something to be ashamed of, even if your family has rules about what's okay. And you're still teaching body respect and self control. It's just framed through your own values. Facts are facts, and your values guide how you share them. So, what's the one message I want you to take away from this video? Masturbation is a natural, healthy part of sexuality, but autistic kids need clear, concrete teaching to understand the social rules. When you approach it calmly, you're teaching them safety, privacy, and confidence, not shame. Masturbation isn't the problem, misunderstanding it is. And next, we're going to build on this by talking about consent, because kids who understand my body, my rules are much better prepared for puberty and relationships later on. Click the video on the screen right now, and I'll show you how to get started.